I don't want to touch it.
Sorry for the delay. It is gross out here. You guys are smart to be home in your houses. So just quickly, anything to add to the agenda or any comments or whatever on the agenda? And I am going to acknowledge that I'm skipping the land acknowledgement tonight.
Good.
So then we're going to go to our NRCS updates.
Can you take minutes?
If you want to go ahead.
Okay. So we're working currently on CSP renewals. Windham County had one application that was for a CSP renewal. Out of the whole South Zone, we had 22 applications in all, which was impressive because I think that's more than any of the other zones. So kudos to everyone on that. I just wanted to go over some ranking deadlines. So first, for the CSP renewals, we want to have a final obligation, a target date of this Friday. That was set so that there's some flexibility so that the cutoff date of the 20th isn't going. We're going to be meeting our mark of the 20th of just having that submitted because a lot of people are taking vacation and you know how that gets bogged down. So we also have a couple of ranking deadlines. So CSP Classic round 1, we have a ranking deadline of January 24th, 2025. CSP, there's supposedly going to be a round 2. Sometimes that never comes to fruition, but that would be for April 18th, 2025. And then we have EQIP. So this is Non-Inflation Reduction Act rankings. And that would include the local fund pools of the small farms and forestry for Windham as February 7th, 2025. And then the EQIP IRA rankings is going to be for February 7th, 2025 as well. And then something, sorry, that I wanted to talk about a little bit more. Has anyone heard of the Act Now program?
Yep.
Okay.
We have, but
So-
okay.
Don't know.
That's
I can tell you
basically
what it is, but I think I've heard of it.
Get the money out the door now.
it's a program that's supposed to have producers have be able to come into the door and they walk out with a contract. Now, we don't have it that streamlined of a process because we're slowly working towards that. And it's more of people who come into the door with the eligibility up to date would have a high opportunity to be funded for specific practices such as pasture and hay planting, nutrient management, manure application, cover crop, soil carbon amendment, reduced tillage, and no-till. So these are things that would be really easy to have any producer that was interested in those really focus on applying to that so that we can increase that and then we can fund more in the local fund pools. So kind of just maximizing the opportunity for funding. And then and there's going to be more information specific to that. They just talked about on our office hours, but there should be like a state bulletin that gets rolled out that specifically has the requirements within that program that we'll make sure to send out so that you all can be included in those requirements to help with that planning. And then we also have CSP annual payments are due this Friday. So if there's anyone who wants to receive their CSP annual payments that they are contracted through, then make sure to, within this calendar year, make sure to get that information over to the planner as soon as possible so that they can make sure that we get paid to the producer after it's approved this Friday. So those are my updates.
Cool.
Can I ask you to restate what is the April 18th deadline for? I didn't catch that.
That is for CSP Classic Round 2. And I'm gonna drop this in the chat because I typed it up for
Thank
everyone.
you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Olivia?
Sorry.
We're just seeing that Garrett's joining us, hopefully not from in a ditch.
Yeah, I thought.
Read a copy of this in your name. That'd be faster.
Sure. I think I got this, but so.
Okay, if there are no questions, thank you, Olivia, for your update and your work for us.
Thank you all. It's awesome working with you all. And I'm gonna be birding with you sometime soon.
Yeah.
Didn't know we had another birthday.
Excuse me. Next item on our agenda is, approved petitions for board supervisor.
So the statute says that if only one person submits the required petition signatures, that they are installed is the term. So I checked with Claire at NRCC just to see like, do we need to do something? And she just said she thought best practice would be for the board to take an actual official action to acknowledge the receipt of them. And
Okay.
prove it. Just so there's something in the minutes.
All right, so I believe, well, in your electronic board packet, you should find the page that has the copy of the petition for Peter. Just trying to double check that that's the name on the petition. To be a supervisor here in Windham County again. If someone wants to, I don't know if it'd be a motion or just make an acknowledgement, state some acknowledgement or whatever, that's in our packet and we've seen that and received that. Or maybe just make it a motion to accept it, might be the simplest way to do it.
I would be happy to move that we accept the petitions and make the Madden thousands happy by reappointing for Peter for another period of time.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Besides Beanie joking. If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed?
I'm gonna abstain from the vote.
Okay,
As long as you don't abstain from the board, Peter.
Do I have to state who abstains? Or
I
just
believe
say
it
one
should be
member
noted
abstains?
that Peter abstained.
Okay.
For obvious reasons or.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter, for agreeing to do this and being willing to continue on. Would have been great to have 5-10 people coming forward and wanting to be on this board, because the rest of us could have retired, but. I think we have a good board here, and I think it's good to keep us moving and going forward. So thank you. I know you've got a lot of other things that you try to do throughout the year.
It's true, but this is one of the more rewarding ones, so.
Good, excellent.
Good.
Right. Exactly.
Excuse me. Okay, next item, strategic planning consultant bid process.
So, in your packet, you should have seen a draft request for proposals. This is a deliverable in our workforce capacity development grant from Watersheds United Vermont. To undertake a strategic planning process. We are overdue. We haven't done one in a while. The goal would be to do these every 5 years, I think, is common practice. Our grant includes $8,000 for a consultant. We've done a little bit of digging into kind of what other organizations have done in recent years, and that doesn't really cover like them doing the whole process for us. It will be more of them advising us and helping us navigate it a little bit, but it'll still be like led by us. So I am very, very flexible. The language in this RFP. I stole a lot of it from other RFPs from similar organizations who've done this in the last 2 years as a starting point. I don't know if you want me to share screen or if you want to look at the one that's in your packet.
I'm good looking at what's in my packet. What about those online? Would you like Corey to share screen on this so you can see it?
Yeah, I'm not going.
I
I'm
think
already
next-
looking at it, but if others want to share, that works.
It would be helpful
Okay,
if you shared it. Thank you.
all right, I was messed this up on the screens.
So you wanted other screens. You wanted screen two. So somehow we have to stop
So-
share.
This did not get this complicated.
And then
Screen
screen
two.
two,
And then I drag it.
yeah,
Over the screen. Yeah. Okay,
and they can't see the same window.
This is just the dry throat, Jeff. Allergies.
okay, so there's this cover letter that tries to describe a little bit about who we are, what our mission is. And then just to address the fact that we've experienced pretty significant growth in the recent 5 years. And why I think that underscores the need for strategic planning, that we've grown kind of just grabbing every grant we can. And that's fine. I think that I would like to be more intentional.
Yeah.
So hoping that we can get some guidance on how to navigate that. I set a deadline of February 10th for proposals. And then the next page has the full timeline, so it would release on Thursday if the board approves it. If they have any questions, those are due January 14th. The way it works with the bid process usually is if they submit questions, we release one questions and answers document that goes out to everybody so that there's equal access to the information. And their bid we do February 10th. With an anticipated start date of February 24. And the goal to have this entirely done by August. And then here was a rough outline of a strategic planning process. A review and recommitment of Windham NRCD's mission. So looking at our mission and vision statements and just making sure we're on the same page. A discussion on the state of the natural resources within the district. I don't want the strategic planning process to be like a repeat of what we already do through tactical basin planning and through the locally led process. So I included in here a bullet that like a number of planning documents already exist that would be incorporated into this review. Surveys of board members and staff, partner agencies and organizations that we work with. I don't think we should survey the public again. I think we already survey them through the locally led process and we'll provide all that information to the consultant.
I agree with that.
Great.
This public member is sick of surveys.
Yeah.
A review of current programs, budgets and staffing. And then the development of a list of desired outcomes, internal to the organization, external to the organization's residents, district's residents. A review of opportunities for progress, projects, funding, and the drafting of a strategic planning document aimed at 5-year timeframe that can be updated annually as needed. And a transition from the strategic plan to specific staff and board next steps.
That is the key one.
Right, we want this to actually be something we use.
Yep.
Yeah.
Corey has kind of heard me crab a little bit. I mean, comment on this process a little bit. You know, strategic plan is great and needed. But if it's just something that sits on the shelf, which I don't anticipate that being the case in our current staffing and situation, but yeah, and I think part of the struggle with them, right, is that it doesn't often
Right.
get into the how and when and stuff.
But if it sets policy guidelines, I mean, if Corey feels that the present process is somewhat random, just sort of grabbing any grant that comes along. Having guidelines, I think, you know, just sort of looking at it, well, should we be interested in that? Yes or no, you know, it probably helps to guide what you go for. I think it sounds like a worthwhile thing to have.
Yes, and what I was just saying is that this last
Bullet
line, the bullet about part of this plan, including how we put some of this into
Right.
place is key. I think
Oh.
some strategic plan processes that I've been involved with, it's like, it kind of does the dream world, you know, this is what we'd like to be, and it doesn't take that next step as to, and this is how we get there.
Right,
Um,
right.
I think what you're talking about, Jeff, that would give me sometimes a little leg to stand on when I turn down opportunity, like. I'm always hesitant to turn down opportunities, but it'd be nice to be able to say, like, we're turning that down and it's because it simply does not fit into our strategic plan.
Right.
Right, because everyone comes, like, as we've become more visible and successful, more people come to us and think, surely the district wants to partner on this.
Right,
And it's unfortunately, we do have to say no sometimes.
right, yeah.
yep, so yes, it would be great if you have some basis, not just. And again, I don't see you just
Yeah.
saying, nah,
Right,
Yeah.
it's typically, right now,
Moving
it's
in the right
relationship driven. Who do I not want to disappoint?
Right.
It's not maybe the best way to do things.
well, and I'm sure to a certain extent, you could be influenced by. Who have you had successful partnerships with in the past and who have things worked with, versus either an unknown or a. Yeah, this didn't work so well the last time, that's gotta. And I mean, you wanna take that into account to a certain extent,
Mhm.
right?
Agreed.
Okay, so.
And then there's this proposed consultant activities. This direct facilitation, working with the executive director and the board chair to identify opportunities for direct facilitation of discussion or other activities aimed at furthering the strategic planning process. Survey development and analysis, the consultant will provide support developing the surveys and analyzing the results, and then plan drafting, the consultant will provide planning expertise to guide the development of an effective strategic plan. And then we're just asking for a letter of interest. Don't take up. That is just the experience of why they're qualified, a proposed scope of work, a timeline, and then a cost. And currently, I've said that the cap should be $8,000 because that's what we have in grant funding. We could choose to spend some of our retained earnings if we want to, but I'm not sure that it would be worth it. I chatted with one other district manager who just went through this last year, and her feedback was they spent a lot of money on their consultant. She's like, I don't know that it was worth, like, her perspective is she'd rather. And I don't know that I completely, like, having never been through it, I think I would like having some advice, the advisory role.
Yep, and again, I'm guessing it depends on who you get and. Yeah. We did one.
Mhm.
I think Liza was our district manager at
Okay.
the time. I don't know if Meg remembers that. And I think we liked the firm we worked with.
Okay, that'd be good.
I think the woman's name was Autumn, but I can't remember the name of the firm.
Okay,
I probably somewhere in my house have documents from it, or it should be in the office somewhere.
yeah,
There should be a strategic plan in the office.
that's the second
somewhere.
time today somebody said that should be in your office somewhere.
But-
We all looked at each other. Like,
Again, this gets back to developing a document that just sits on the shelf
Yeah.
somewhere and nobody does anything with it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, at that time, we had transition, right? We were kind of changing over district managers and stuff, so it was a tough time to be implementing a strategic plan, if I remember correctly.
And then it says that the board will make a selection. Consultants.
The only thing in here, or one thing that's kind of caught my eye is the consultant will work with the executive director and board chair. Given this timeline and stuff that's going on with the ACD, I wonder if it would be a good idea to have that be or their designee. Like, in other words.
Like if you're too busy. you-
I could maybe say, could one of the other board members?
Yeah, where was that? Do you remember?
Yep, top of page 6 in our packet, but under proposed consultant activities, direct facilitation, that paragraph. I believe, yeah. The first line. And I don't know just where everything that's going on will be, but, I came here in person tonight in part because I've had 2 or 3 Zooms already this week and
Yeah.
it's very nice.
More to come.
Any
Put an
other,
N in designee.
what?
What, Meg?
Put an N in designee.
Yep, the projector's really blurry. I'm really struggling.
Oh, I thought it was my glasses.
No.
No,
that's
I thought it
weird.
was mine.
I don't know how to correct
I left
that.
my good glasses in the barn.
That thing like tilts it.
No.
Oh, that's it.
Can it be bigger? Would that also?
Oh,
Oh,
I
there you
have
go.
it.
That's so much better. Thank you, Isabel.
We're having a vision test here. Maybe that's clear for all of you.
Well, the 3 of us with glasses, we're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
No,
Well, I'm used to being blind.
Right?
I always worry when the person running the meeting is having visions.
Well, you need a visionary leader.
There you go.
yeah. Okay, are there thoughts on this? Have all of you had time enough to scan this document to feel comfortable? Approving this request for proposals for a consultant?
Yeah, it seems fine to me. Do you have a list of consultants you're gonna send it to, Corey?
I'm not yet. I was gonna ask around. I was gonna ask Momentum. I'm guessing this is below them, but I was gonna at least check in with Emily to see if she had recommendations. Cause I feel like they've been really good. That's who BACD is working with. I would love it if she would do it, cause they already understand the landscape so well.
Yeah,
But-
That's all.
The Land Trust worked with a woman named Molly Loomis recently. She is really outstanding at facilitation. I'm not, this may not be something that's up her street. But she is really great. I think her business is called Molo Consulting. You could at least call her and let her know that I recommended her and see if she's not interested, if she has some ideas of who might fit the bill.
Did you say Molly Loomis?
Molly Loomis, yep. Molo Consulting,
Molo?
as in Molly Loomis, MOLO.
Got it. Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
And I will, I don't know if I can find that for you when I get home tonight or not. I was just Googling, see if, oh, look, I Googled strategic plans in Windham County and Momentum Consulting came up as the full thing. Okay, so I think it would be appropriate or whatever, if the board pleases to have a motion, to approve this request for proposal for a consultant for strategic planning. Someone would like to make a
So
motion.
moved. So moved.
Second,
Is there any discussion, questions, further questions on this?
I thought it looked good.
Okay. If not, all those in favor say aye.
aye,
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you, and thank you, Corey. Again, I have to compliment Corey on pushing forward on this despite some resistance from his board chair. When he first brought it up, I didn't know it was part of our deliverable and that there was already funding for it. Okay. Next, and if I'm moving too fast, I am trying to make up some time here, but if I'm moving too fast, don't hesitate to say, whoa. So next is our fiscal year 25 quarterly financial reports.
I'm just only open my computer so I can share. That rain sounds loud out there, like a waterfall.
Yep.
There, okay. Good, I'm gonna write this down. 3, 2, share, I mean, just do. Right. Okay, so here's your budget to actual, so this runs to the end of September. There's nothing earth shattering in Q1, I feel like we're pretty late on this. Since Q2 will be over in another 2.5 weeks. A couple of things to just maybe make note of. Whoa. Navigate.
You can do that page thing.
There should be.
No, I mean, like if you click on it and then page up or down. Oh no,
That'll
it's
work.
gonna go slow.
That's fine. Okay, a couple of things to note in our income, we have a couple of grant agreements that have paid more than a quarter of the agreement. For example, Egg CWIP, we receive semi-annual payments. That's our grant that funds outreach and education to agricultural producers. So we've received the first half of that already, and it's only a quarter in. Same thing is true, core services, we've received 20,000 in payment, a total of 35,500. And the same thing is actually true. Didn't look the way I thought it was going to. Why can't I?
It's not scrolling.
No, when I do that, it goes full pages. When I do that, it curses down past where we can see. All right.
It's not gonna do it. Oh. Gonna leave that there.
Okay, I almost did it. Do people have these in their packets?
Yes.
I can. The other grant that does that, the other grant where that is the situation is the Vermont Community Foundation. I don't remember what it's exactly called. Oh, it's just listed for my community foundation. That's the fund that supports our work with the Green River Watershed Alliance and some riparian stewardship, outreach and education activities. That one we've received payment on more than half of the amount that we'll receive this year, 13,500 out of a total of 16,667. So the reason I'm highlighting those is that the net of 36,385 and the positives may be a little misleading because we have some grants that have sort of paid us ahead of time. If we ran our books differently, we would have corresponding liabilities because
Right.
we will owe deliverables for those agreements down the road that, it's not just our money to hang on to.
Yep. But on the other hand, it helps cash flow a little bit, that,
It definitely does.
I mean, I find impressive that you have money from council
That's a big improvement.
ahead, or on time or ahead of time.
Yep.
That's great.
How come we've spent 16,286 on Dummerston Covered Bridge access gully erosion implementation?
Yeah, so when this
Nothing
budget was approved, we thought that was going to be finished in the previous fiscal year. And instead it got.
So is there money from the previous year to carry over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and. Don't understand. Income. Yeah, so if you look under Dummerston Covered Bridge excess gully erosion implementation under the income side, $16,286.15 in Q1 income. That we didn't plan on, we didn't budget any of that because we thought it was gonna be in the previous fiscal year. And under expense, and that falls under contractual construction. Well, a little bit of it falls under contractual construction, 12,550 that went to Slate Rock Timber for the actual work. And then the engineering services from Fitzgerald go under consulting / engineering. And that 11,304.07 is some Dummerston and some Jacksonville Berlin. Engineering work. As has been the case for like over a year now, the Long Island Sound Futures Fund project, the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, we just continue to run under our expected expenditures on that. And because we charge 10% indirect to anything we bill National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, that, you know, on a $400,000 grant, that becomes like real money. And so there is a concern that they've just not been able to really maximize. I have a meeting with Kat Sands from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation on Monday next week to talk about a budget amendment and a calendar amendment for that project. Because we've spent on a $418,000 grant, we've not even been close to spending half of it, and we're over halfway through the time period. So we're gonna talk, I want to talk to her about, can we use the money differently than we proposed? And can we have a little bit more time to do it? We just have a lot of partners who either didn't participate at all that we thought were going to, or who their ability to participate has been limited, their capacity. So we have partners we plan on giving $30,000 to go out and do this work, and they've been able to use 2 or 3. And there's nothing we can do about, you know, their available capacity. I think if they're fine with it, I would rather move more of that money that we were planning to give to partners into our own bucket and to do the work ourselves as much as is necessary to get the project done. There's still just a big piece hanging out there, which is we want to do some water quality testing around these practices on farms. We've learned that that's super expensive from talking to partners to do that work. And we're trying to figure out what that looks like.
I mean, like monitoring?
Yeah, we're hoping to figure out of these agricultural practices, which ones are most effective at reducing nitrogen loss. And we said that we would do some pilot studies on willing farms. The idea being that when this is done, we're gonna turn around and for implementation funding to do a lot of testing over a much longer time span. Unfortunately, this project was the brainchild of Marley Roop and Marie Caduto at DEC. They came to us and said, hey, we want to do this project. What Marie envisioned was give us money to put everybody in a room and work on this, because the idea is not flushed out. So that's what we're doing. And we're learning that a lot of our assumptions about how to go about it may not have been accurate. For example, the partners that we've talked to who do this type of water quality testing have said, you need to do this stuff for many, many years, and it's really expensive before you're going to begin to answer the kinds of questions you guys want to answer. So we're not going to be able to do that within the constraints of this grant. So what I'm hoping to find out in my meeting next week is, can we sort of shift what we said we would do to really focus on the pilot piece? Like, we want to pilot some things and prove that they work, and then create some systems so that then we can apply to maybe Sarah or somebody who has bigger pots of money. Because this might be a multi-million-dollar research study if it ever gets that far. So anyway, that's why that amount continues to just run below, and I haven't 100% figured out what to do about it.
So is this the one that you tried to, or did set up the steering committee
Yep.
and stuff that
Yep.
Farmers Alliance? and
Yeah,
all?
Jeff's on that.
Okay,
And this is the one where we had that survey that went out to producers. I think you took it, or someone from Force Farm did.
probably.
Is about how many responses ish do we have right now?
About 100.
Okay, so we're plucking along. We said we were gonna get,
We wanted 260 to get a representative sample of our population.
so one of the questions is, can we get a calendar amendment to stretch this out a whole nother year? And let's just keep that survey open for longer. We also would like to do some interviews with producers who said they were willing to dig deeper into their answers. And that's something that we can give money to partners to do, and I think there will be an appetite for doing that. Because now, I think the surveys have been a hard sell sometimes, because the ones who were like super willing to do it, did it. And now, you know, I've heard from partners that there's a certain subset of farmers who are like, I don't want to take a survey, and I definitely don't want to share my information with the government. And I understand that.
Yeah.
The interviews, at least, were going to people who checked the box and said, yes, I would be willing to be interviewed. So I think there'll be more appetite for that stage of the project.
I just, some of it is a little interesting, because it's been my understanding from meetings I've been at and what limited knowledge I have, that monitoring for nitrogen savings or whatever is really tough to
That's what we're
do.
learning. Yep.
Yeah, because it's just hard to measure or something. I don't understand the science of it, but that is just the general sense of what I've heard in the past is part of why it's not done is because it's really hard, maybe really expensive
Yeah.
to really figure anything out.
I think Isabel and Jeff could probably
Basically,
speak to this.
yeah, I was just gonna, the simple version is, if you remember nitrogen cycles, if you ever learned that in school or something, nitrogen has so many forms, like gas, and it like, when you, there's just like a lot of different ways it moves through water, it moves differently through soil, so like, getting a comprehensive answer to how much nitrogen something produces is not easy at all, so. That's my 6 months.
But somebody must have had the thought that it can be done.
The Chesapeake Bay program has done work on this, so we
Okay.
aren't the first at all to look at this, but the Chesapeake Bay program has so many partners and funding, and they've been doing it for a long time, so yeah, they're in a little bit different situation than us.
And that's, I feel like there's been some pushback from some of the partners like the EPA and,
Yeah.
and the Agency of Ag that are kind of like, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
We don't
definitely.
really need the district doing this. And that's where we're a little bit stuck in that, well, we applied with this idea in mind and we do need to satisfy our grant. And try
I
to
think
achieve. what
someone
we said.
came to you.
Oh, yeah,
after you
DEC was who
applied.
wanted us to do this. So that's where there seems to be a little conflict.
Okay.
And there, as you know, that conflict exists. I guess those are the things I would highlight from the budget to actual. Other questions about the budget to actual for quarter one? And then you can go through the profit and loss by class if you're interested. It's not super informative. To me, because I collapsed rows and columns to make it something that isn't 50 pages long and
Just back to the budget against actual, it's difficult to make sense of it. Because the budget is for the year and the actuals are for a quarter.
right.
And unless you know the detail of how those the activities in the budget should be spaced through the year, it's hard to make sense of
Yep.
the comparison.
Agreed. I don't entirely know what to do about it.
No, no.
I'm trying to think.
Unless you made some estimate of the expected expense.
You could try to do that,
Divide the
yeah.
budget up
Could have
into
done.
quarters.
It would be arbitrary, but you could have a column and say this is what we would have expected.
Right,
to do.
but just for sort of general guidance.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, the profit and loss by class. So in a dream world, these classes would all balance out to zero. As you can see, they do anything but right now. At the end of a fiscal year, we can try to do some work to make it look that way. But you can see like egg programs, we've got that huge egg CWIP payment sitting there. We haven't spent down those funds, basically. That's why that's so positive. The unclassified is $124 in QuickBooks fees for direct deposit payments. And I cannot figure out how to move those into a class. One of these days I'll get around to meeting with Lena Smith at DACD, who helps with QuickBooks, and see if she can do it. It doesn't show when you go in and do a journal entry, it just isn't one of the choices. So you can't select it to move it, so I'm stuck. Everything else has been classified. Unrestricted funds show a negative balance, but what's not reflected here is all of the retained earnings from last year. And that's another piece. I don't 100% know how. Like if I moved that into this fiscal year,
I'm not sure if that would or should show on your profit and loss, or if that's more on your balance sheet.
right? And then yeah, you can see the balance
I know
sheet.
just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, you and me both. The total liabilities and equities at the end of this quarter was $117,390.26. A lot of that's in pending invoices. And then there is the balance sheet detail, which is a really good read. It's not quite as long as the general ledger, which we decided to stop including in these reports because it's the pages, but I will say I have a file in the file cabinet. It's financial records, so anytime we do a transaction that involves moving money, something gets printed and put in chronological order in that file. And I was struck the other day as I was in there that the last year's and this year's were like, I mean, that's just the amount of activity going on is exploding. And that's on my mind that at some point we probably need to come up with a solution that isn't me doing it, but I'm just a little bit daunted at figuring out how we afford it and how we physically get it all moved into someone else's job without losing control of it. And, you know, like, I need to intimately understand it in order to write grant reports and manage the district's finances. We do have a little bit of money in that workforce capacity grant to hire a financial planner to help us figure that out. Like, not to actually be our bookkeeper, to come in and try to say, hey, well, what might a system look like that would be workable?
And what, it was a physical file, you said? of
Yeah.
the
Yep.
Bills that you paid and such?
I like that because if we're audited, I mean, at some point, we should intentionally be audited, we should do that. My understanding is that they will pick random things and say, please produce the evidence of these spendings, and so that all in chronological order.
Yep. Look at your minutes and all those kinds of things, to make sure you're authorized to do
Right.
it.
Yep.
I'm authorized to do minutes. Am I authorized to take minutes?
No, I mean, yes.
Okay, okay.
No, I mean,
Could be a
the
problem.
minutes need to reflect,
Whether they were
like,
approved.
right,
Because.
like this motion to set up a strategic plan request for proposals.
Gotcha.
Those are the kinds of things they look for, and not that just Cory is randomly going off. And I think there are certain, somewhere there's some policy or whatever that amounts over a certain amount
Mhm.
needs to come to the board for approval.
Or I need 2 signatures. There's 2 different, the policies and procedures. There's any payment over, I think, 3,500. I always have to look it up when I get close to the number to make sure. Requires 2 signatures, even if it's in the budget. If a payment is in the budget, then I don't have to have board approval to pay it out. I just have to have 2 signatures. So for example, like the bill from Slate Rock Timber was $12,000. Jeff had to sign off on that payment, but it didn't have to come back to the board because the board approved the budget that included that amount.
Any questions for Cory on this financial information he's presented, or that's in our packet? Okay, thank you, Cory. Next on our agenda, annual gathering follow-up.
I put in my DM report, I think. Just a quick summary of
Bits in there or something.
what the bottom line was. And I'm gonna jump following this stuff. We took in $817.25 in donations between the silent auction and the people who made donations with their registration. And our total cost was $3,146 for renting the space and for the catering from the porch. So that event cost us $2,328.75. I think it was worth it personally. I think it was a really nice event, but just something to be mindful of as we look at the future is trying to figure out how we can get more of that paid for. Are there reflections on how folks thought it went, or what they liked, or what they would do differently next time?
Somebody's birthday.
It's Violet's 5th birthday. It's crystal themed.
I thought
I
it was
thought-
really nice. The food was good. Everything was well organized. The venue was attractive. You know, as you say, we just need to take in more money, but overall, it was very nice. I thought.
Sorry, I missed it.
We missed you, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a difficult time. Who was the guest speaker?
Vern Gerbinger.
And he was good, wasn't
He was good, I thought, yeah.
What did he speak about?
He kind of gave this a little bit meandering overview of his experience working with farmers around Vermont, but and a little bit the types of changes that are coming with climate change and like how all the innovation that's happening out on the ground with people trying to figure out how to continue to grow crops with all the challenges they're facing.
Right. Mainly fruits and berries?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And small veg.
Uh-huh.
Other thoughts?
I thought it was wonderful. You guys did such a great job. Really love the food. I love the speakers. I like that you all touched over the projects that you have been working on and the successes. So that was really wonderful to hear. The band was a nice touch as well. And just the ambiance of the facility was really wonderful as well. So I thought it was a lot of fun. I feel like everyone kept it lively and it was just like a great time and a great celebration. Also those little crossword puzzles and mats I took home and me and my boyfriend filled them out. So that was something fun that we did together and we learned a little bit more about the watershed. So the handouts were wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was really great. The food was awesome. I thought Vern did a nice job of, I think it probably played pretty well with the audience, his speech. The only feedback I heard from folks that was in any way negative was that the band was a little loud and it was hard to talk.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everybody just thought it was a great event. Yeah.
The one thing that I thought of to do with it is it appeared to me relative to last year that our attendance this year was a lot more partners and providers or whatever the right term would be. I think there were some producers, stewards of the land folks there. But the thing that impressed me last year was the turnout of the people there seemed to be people working land.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right way to put that is. So I would like to think that we could find, and I don't know whether the cost, because last year I don't believe we charged.
No, and we didn't say
anything.
you had to pay this year, but maybe some people didn't feel comfortable.
But I thought it was on the website or something that there was a sliding scale
Yep.
or donation.
Yep. And
So I don't know, whether location, whether last year just tapped with the Adams Farm as the tour,
Mhm.
whether that was a draw. These
Yeah,
are the things, you know.
Yeah.
You could spend hours guessing,
yeah, I did agree with that. I mean,
and
I
no
feel like we
offense
were-
to our partners, I was very happy to see a lot of them there and stuff.
yeah, and
had
I
some
did
good
think it
interaction.
spoke volumes that we had so many partners. I mean, some of them just made some pretty long drives to be there, so that's good. I'm not sure that would happen a couple of years ago, like
Yep.
recognizing the importance that the district plays, but
And I think that's a reflection of the work of our district.
yeah, I agree. I was talking to Mary Montour with the Agency of Ag at the VACD annual meeting. And I was just saying, we were talking about where meetings are, and I said, yeah, it's been really nice. There's so many more meetings happening on this side of the state. You know, I used to drive to Colchester so often or Barry. And she's like, well, that's because of your district. I thought it was nice praise.
Yep.
Or are we just loud?
What?
Are we just loud though? Please, have some meetings here.
You need to be. My husband has often, in front of state officials and whoever, referred to us as the forgotten kingdom. Never mind the Northeast. We're not the Southeast or the Southwest kingdom, we're the forgotten kingdom.
Yeah. Somewhere I saw in the news, they
Which is
referred,
not as true as it used to be.
I saw Rutland described as southern Vermont in the news recently, Burlington.
Yep, Route 4 is the Vermont border.
Right.
Southern Vermont border. in many people's minds. Any further than that, it's too much trouble.
So we have many months before we plan the next one of these, but I guess just be thinking about how do we make this appealing to kind of our core constituency?
Yep.
I guess the other thing that would be nice is if we could find a way to somehow lure in some of our legislative reps.
I know they were all invited and I had two said they were coming but didn't show.
And I had said that I was going to invite the new one that lives a mile down the road, and I never remembered to do it.
I think the challenge in an election year is we've done this the week after the election, both times. And last year there was an election.
I was gonna say, it's
I
like.
can't remember what it was last year.
you
Oh, no,
were
that was the
really
event we
fast.
did at Putney. At the
Right.
Vermont Orchard, that was the week after the election. And both times I heard from the legislators, they were, well, I'd love to come to that, but like, that's the first week I can do anything out of town in months, so I'm gone. If we do it before the election, I think we will for sure get good turnout, but I think the question is, does it turn into a political event? Because if they're all there campaigning, and maybe that's okay, maybe we want that.
I mean. Theoretically, if they're there trying to gain people's trust and vote and whatever, they would be listening to people, and whether they take it forward or not would remain to be seen, but. Anything else on annual meeting?
I think the biggest compliment that Corey said he received was from Sonia, who is a partner, but she said it was nice to attend like a positive event. So that made me happy that, like Olivia said, it was upbeat and happy and true celebration.
Yep. Okay,
No,
thank you
I thought it was great.
all
Let's
for your
do it
work
again.
putting it together. Thank you also, those that helped get the pumpkins in and out of my car. Because those were big pumpkins.
There were big changes.
Okay, next is VACD update. Lot going on to do with, Jill's retirement, finding her replacement. We have started the interviewing process for that, Jill being our executive director. This seems to be a good pool of candidates. Corey and I are both on the hiring committee. And there's been a good process, I think, leading up into it in terms of, detailing the process and making the full board aware. There's been a lot of push for that, with the increased supervisor participation and stuff. More people want to know what's going on, and Jess Miller is a staff person with VACD, and she's been awesome with helping organize we supervisors and Corey in this too. We're coming to realize, part of this is not just finding Jill's replacement, but also there's some discussion about Jill's, how we transition Jill out, and her exit package and that kind of stuff. So I was on a Zoom for that this afternoon. I'm trying to think of the rest of the business for VACD. VACD also had an annual meeting, I think, since we met last.
Mhm.
The first day of it was working with the consultants, Emily, Sage, and two or three others of their team. I think from anything I've heard, it was a well-received exercise, and a lot of good discussion. The board meeting the next day was a good one. I was very nervous going into it because I knew there were some items on the agenda that could be somewhat contentious. There's still some concern and discussion. We did approve another year's contract with Action Circles to help us with our legislative advocacy efforts. It is different this year. They will not be working on if anything happens or whatever to do with changing our statute. They are not going to be working with us on that aspect. That is actually has been shifted to council, who is supposed to try to come up with a committee to work on that. It's all, so it's, that aspect has been moved. It was part of the governance committee, also with VACD. And the governance committee stumbled a bit in the past year trying to get any forward progress, I will just say, on that. So, and there was tension between some members of the governance committee and Action Circles. Let's leave it at that. So the outcome of that has been that someone came up with the idea that the Natural Resource Conservation Council would form a committee to try to look at what we might want changed with the statute. The irony, or whatever you want to call it, of that is that most of the supervisors who make up the council are also those of us that are on most of the committees for VACD, so
A little bit going on.
we're looking for any volunteers, if there's anyone on our board or other boards or anyone, you know, it's an associate supervisor or whatever, they can serve on these committees.
This council committee? Like,
I believe that's what was
Okay,
said,
that's good to-
is that associate supervisors could also be on this committee. I
because
think.
council is less representative currently than the VACD full board
Right.
is, yeah.
I may be wrong in that, but I think that we're trying to open it up for those kinds of things that. To get broader supervisor participation and stop having it be the same 6 or 8 people in the state that are. Manning most of, or personing, peopling most of these committees.
Thank you, really.
So there's been a lot of positive stuff, I think, and just the fact that there were some discussions at the actual board meeting. That came to resolution and had an outcome, I think was a big step and a big improvement from some of our past board meetings. So, any questions from any of you as to what's going on with us, or Corey is another one. Corey is overbooked. You know, he's on the capacity building committee, he's on the hiring committee. I can't remember what other committees you're on. He's our district, you know, he's the DM representative, so he's going to a bunch of things for that.
Board development committee, but that stopped existing, so.
Yeah, that's kind of just become kind of the executive committee. I think there was some thought, there is some thought that as Jill, depending on the timing of when a new executive director gets hired, that as Jill is transitioning out, she may be able to work on some of those things, like trying to work on the resources for board members, supervisors, and or trying to recruit more supervisors. There's some district that has almost a whole new board, I believe. I can't remember if it's
Yeah.
Lawrence or one of those up there
I
that.
think it is the Lawrence, yeah.
So that's been interesting to see too. It's that there are some new supervisors coming on board. We have one from Bennington County who's on the hiring committee that so far that's, I think, been a positive addition. So, yeah, and that person. No, I'm not gonna say that. No. It's been a good addition. Trying to keep myself politically correct and whatever. Okay, I think that's enough unless anyone has any questions on that. I will just, one other thing, I am once again going to be going to the national meeting in February. So if anyone has any burning thoughts or questions for that, let me
Salt
know.
Lake City, right?
Yes,
Nice.
we'll see.
Too bad you're not skier.
I know. The
It's still
tour,
pretty, I'm sure.
the tour that I signed up for is an ag tour or something, but I think they're taking us to a dairy that makes cheese. And then they're taking us to a ski resort that's where Olympic training happens or something. So it's kind of like, I basically said, okay, I'll go on it, because, you know, you get out and on the bus at least, and you see some of the countryside and stuff, but it's like, I'm not a skier. Yeah. Come from a ski area family, but I'm not a skier. Okay, next is our DEI self-assessment session, which I see in the chat. Heather put something in, but now we have your face to lead us.
Yeah,
Busy.
we haven't met since October. The DEI committee, has not met since October. But I just thought with the holiday season upon us, if people just wanted to say their favorite, holiday tradition, if they have one, it can be food related, or if you do a service or a ceremony, or, a favorite present you got one time or something like that. Just I thought it might be something fun and whatnot. I can kick us off if nobody has a burning one they want to start with.
I'll start, so you don't have to, Heather.
Thanks, Linda.
This comes from Liam, my husband. I believe he started it with our kids, but I'm not sure. It might have started actually with his family, but I believe every year on Christmas Eve, he has read The Night Before Christmas. Either, and I mean, even, I think it is every year. I believe Abby even called him when she was doing her semester abroad in Belize or something, and he read it over the phone to her. And now we've continued that on with our grandchildren. So yeah, we've done it with Zoom and FaceTime or whatever, but the tradition has continued. Which is a switch from my family growing up. My family, I was raised Catholic, and we read the Bible story, I believe, the night before Christmas, not the night before Christmas. But yeah, so reading a story to our kids.
I can share. So not having kids ourselves, my brother and his wife have always invited Mary and I over Christmas morning to watch the kids open presents. And of course, now the kids are all grown up, but we still do that. And it's actually, we still have family Christmas a different day. That's kind of chaotic. But then Christmas morning, we go over to my brother's house, and there's fresh baked cinnamon rolls, and we usually just play cards. There's a game euchre that is kind of unique to the Midwest, or at least Michigan. Yeah.
I don't really have any. I was raised in a split household of religions, so we were taught that we could assume whatever one we wanted. So we weren't ever really pressured to do one or the other. I think part of that was, my dad was a mall manager, and every holiday is like mass chaos.
Yeah.
So like Thanksgiving, like 11 o'clock. Maybe, and then he'd have to go to work. And Christmas, the day after Christmas is actually the busiest day for malls because it's returning stuff.
Yep.
So we never really did any traditions.
Huh.
Every year was different, or there would be a incident at the mall, or, you know, people are crazy. So that's probably why I'm not like super holiday person, but yeah.
Jeff, got one from the United Kingdom?
No,
there's
I've
tea
moved
involved.
around so much,
Or some other country you've been in?
no, not really, no, I mean, Christmas Eve's kind of, not a day, I keep that, that's the day my wife died, so I have a sort of memorial evening to her. So that's Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, all sorts of different things can happen, so there's this, I have no annual routine for Christmas at all, on Christmas Day.
Sounds like we should start one for us.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
We could start a conservation holiday, because this isn't just Christmas, right? That's the other thing is that, I know our daughter celebrates winter solstice. I have yet to get down to her house for that, but
Hmm.
We
that's
can do that.
another biggie for her.
Yeah, that's what mine was gonna be. Growing up, my best friend in middle school, her family celebrated winter solstice, and so that was always beautiful with all the lights. And then Nate's mom is really big into it, so now my friend's family grew up, that was a party, and that was fun. And my mother-in-law's tradition is to make sure we light a candle and have all the other lights off, and just become in tune with darkness and accept that like this is a time of hibernation and not, you don't have to achieve everything all the time, and just in tuning with nature despite it being chilly and frigid outside. So I really liked that tradition keeping going in my life.
Nice. Anyone else?
One of ours is very similar to what you described, Linda, and another is going out into the woods and getting a Christmas tree, which when our kids were really little, was a little challenging. They often came out of the woods crying because they were cold and we'd been out there so long. But they still love the tradition, and we just did that with my daughter out in California. We went out on her property and snagged a fir tree and dragged it home.
Nice.
That brings me a lot of hope that if your children left the woods crying, Peter, that's okay that mine do the same.
Well, my holiday tradition has changed a lot because my folks are gone. I don't have any siblings or close family. Ned's family is Jewish, so for them it's Hanukkah. And so I would say we do a little bit of both things, and mostly try to just have it be kind of a quiet and peaceful time. And that's not exactly a tradition, it's not specific, but it's sort of the way it seems to have played out, and that's kind of nice.
It sounds it. Especially,
We usually eat very well too.
May or Olivia, not to put you on the spot, but if you have anything you would like to share about this time of year and something that happens for you. Okay.
It's not a holiday tradition, but my family has forced me to play euchre a lot. So
You know how to play euchre?
Uh-oh.
But
Sorry, there are very few people in Vermont who know how to play euchre.
no, I know how to play euchre. I've played like since I was like 7.
Nice.
But remember, she said she's been forced.
I've made a lot of people play euchre.
I can play with my eyes closed, and
Is it a card game?
Yeah.
it's a Midwestern card game.
It's similar to hearts.
Ah.
You use a smaller deck.
Nice.
I
Good.
love hearts, so I might have to look into that.
It's fun.
For next gathering, you can teach us.
Our food tradition with our house with Christmas is lasagna,
I love lasagna.
which came about when our kids were little and Lan got tired, well, not tired, but felt bad for me because I was having to spend so much of the time in the kitchen making Christmas dinner, and he said, let's just have lasagna. I'm like,
So smart, cool.
worked for me. Till our son ate too much of it and had bad results. No, and our son-in-law loves it, so yeah, so now that's like, are you gonna make lasagna? I'm like, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Heather, for leading us in that. So this circles us back to district manager's report, which you've touched on some, Corey. Did anyone have questions, comments coming out of the district manager's report?
Two updates that didn't make it in here because I forgot about them. The plant sale is mostly up and running. The perennials are not on there yet because Netherland Bulb Company didn't send me the confirmation, like, that says that, you know, normally you get a document back, that's what you ordered and what it costs, and I work off of that as I build the order form. Didn't realize until I went to do that they never emailed me back when I ordered our perennials. I had a panic attack and thought, oh no, we're not gonna have any perennials, but it sounds like we will have perennials, but I have emails today from them in my inbox with confirmation receipts, so. Sometime in the next week, I'll look at the perennials added, but we already have 2,300 in sales. So people jumped in with both feet.
I went on to make an order today and found no perennials, so I was going to ask about that.
They're coming.
Yeah.
And the other one is our proposal to National Fish and Wildlife Foundation for the program focused on technical and financial assistance to producers around grassland breeding birds, was partially funded. We'd asked for 300,000, we got 170,000. So.
Wait a minute. You asked for 300,000? I first heard that as 3,000, then you said 170,000. I'm like, that's not partially funded, that's like way overfunded.
So, yeah, I'm very excited. I didn't expect it to be funded because it was a really competitive grant. Kat's, that's the one that Kat kind of helped put together. So she's already off and running, trying to sort out some of the logistics, which is good because I haven't had the bandwidth for it yet. It says we have to go through a sensitivity analysis around endangered species. If any of our proposed activities might impact endangered species, then this goes to the EPA. Kat thinks we shouldn't have to do that, and she's written a letter about why we shouldn't have to do that. So we're gonna try that next, but.
Well, if they didn't fund you fully, then they shouldn't expect.
Right. Well, that's, so I've asked for a meeting with them to say, okay, you didn't fund us fully, like. I don't just want to tweak the budget myself because I assume they have thoughts about what they did and didn't fund, so I'm looking for guidance.
You said this is National Fish and Wildlife?
Yeah, it's the same cat sands that we work with for the LASFF project, so that'll be convenient.
Wait, but isn't Cat also the other?
Yeah, you're right. there's two
Cat
cats.
Buxton.
No, Cat Abbott. There is a
Cat
Cat
Abbott.
Buxton. Cat Buxton's something up in the White River area.
Yep,
She's been at those.
sorry.
meetings.
She's my position up, or no, that's a different cat.
Yeah,
It's Kate. Never mind.
Buckman, you're right, there's also.
There's a Kate Buckland with CRC.
But she's
Too many.
leaving, so.
Okay. So anyway, it's exciting. It called for some funding for us, some funding to pass through partners, including Ottaquechee and Cheshire Conservation Districts. And then funding to hire a seasonal technician who will go out and look for these nests and build relationships with producers to, hopefully convince them not to mow when there's a meadowlark nest, or possibly other.
We don't have meadowlarks
species.
on our farm.
And financial assistance to farmers who engage in delayed meadow that will be actual financial assistance that meets the level of, what you're giving up because the NRCS programs don't come close. So I'm very excited. And it's a 3-year project. At least we proposed it's a 3-year project. That's one of the questions is if since they funded us less, do we do it for 2 years instead? Or do we scale it back and do it for 3?
That's great. It's been really hard to get that funding for this part of the state.
Yeah.
That's cool. I had a couple of quick questions. I was talking to some other partners this week and they were really concerned about federal grants and some of that money going away if there wasn't already a signed grant agreement. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, Corey. Where are we there?
I don't have any thoughts. There's no way we'll get a signed agreement on this new award between now and January 21st. I mean, that seems, well, I shouldn't say no way, but it seems unlikely, but I'll try. I've asked in a few rooms. Isabel, you were in a meeting today where this came up.
So I was in a totally separate meeting and someone just like sidelined with this, which was great and helpful, but basically, like Corey said, like unless you have in writing things, you need to be reaching out to your contacts to secure that information and that. If basically if things are in progress, you can't count on it unless there is writing, so, that's hard, obviously, for our planning, and I think you've said NRCS hasn't, doesn't have updates, obviously, on what's gonna happen for them either, but that's not.
Right, I've asked a
Different.
lot about, what our partnership with NRCS could look like. I mean, there could be huge changes and they're not able to speak on it at all, because they don't know. Do we know who the proposed Secretary of Ag is? I didn't catch that one.
I think I saw something at some point or heard, but I don't think I could give you names.
But I will say,
Maybe I heard speculation as to who it might be.
Okay.
one of the things they did specify is like, just day one be ready, so like, I know certain things that have been talked about for the upcoming administration would take time to untangle or to change, but with funding, they said just the second that it happens, just be prepared, so.
And I don't know what that means, be prepared.
So not basically to have the funds you have now and deal with the uncertainty of what that will be for next year, or, but some of these are multi-year agreements, and if they're signed, they're signed.
Yeah.
So,
I guess I have felt like we would be okay for the remainder of FY 25 because we have agreements in place, and some of them extend into FY 26. Enough of them that I feel okay about our current staffing level for now. Beyond that is a complete mystery to me because no one knows. There could be some dramatic changes.
I mean, the farm bill, last I heard, is stalled or whatever, and
Yeah, they're gonna kick it to next year.
I was on an NACD Northeast Region meeting, but I don't believe there was anyone there from NRCS, and of course, when you start broadening out your geographical horizons, it's a little more bipartisan, just let's put it that way. So, I haven't heard great, oh my God, this is gonna be awful. And I wanna say that I heard someone with NRCS, but whether it was Travis or someone up further say that there wouldn't be immediate ramifications, I'm not sure. I wouldn't be comfortable stating that, but yeah, it's definitely a hard time to be planning.
I mean, I learned recently, and I didn't know this
Many fronts.
until then, that a lot of DEC's programming is funding from the EPA. Is what funds those positions at DEC. And I don't know, they campaign on eliminating EPA, so I have no idea how that would. It's impossible to begin to prepare for those types of changes.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to get into political or whatever, but it is kind of interesting to think with, this EPA situation and the TMDLs and all that and all the work that has created and stuff. It just is a little mind-boggling to think that could just go away. And I'm guessing there might be some in the state that would say that wouldn't be a bad thing, but yeah, there is something, I believe, called 319 funding.
Okay.
And just the general brain in my head wants to say that when I first became involved in districts, that used to be something you heard about as that districts could apply somehow for some of that 319 funding, but now that has all been funneled to DEC to them.
Okay.
So I think that's probably part of the funding that you're talking about that comes from EPA.
Yeah. I guess I had thought that with the strategic planning process, that this is well timed to hopefully, first half of 2025, try to say, what's the funding landscape gonna look like for the next 5 years? Right, at least.
Yeah, you almost would need to start thinking about what partners aren't tied into the federal government. Like, I don't know what Audubon's situation is, for instance, and what kind of funds they even have.
And I've wondered if we'll need to become more proactive with fundraising, like actual fundraising from the community. Kathy Urfer said that to me in a meeting recently, that she's like, the person who's in charge of their fundraising campaigns at CRC said that first Trump administration was terrific for them, because when, in times of crisis, that's when people open up their pockets and, you know, they want to support the things they care about. But we don't have that standing currently in the community,
Yeah, they have 3 open positions right now.
do they?
Yeah, they just opened one they sent an email and I saw that. I was like, wow, they opened a whole nother position. So they're not backing down.
How's this about looking at open positions?
I get emailed them.
Every time I see one, I hold my breath.
No.
Yes. Okay. Anything else for the district manager's report, which I think is where we still at? If not, we could move on to the secretary's report, to approve the minutes from our November 6th meeting.
We don't have minutes.
We don't have minutes. Okay. Sorry, I apologize for not knowing that. I have not had time to go through this packet, which is a bad thing for the chair of the board to say.
Well, you were delayed
Katie
by a
had
car.
texted me she was gonna be late, but looks like.
Maybe she's stuck in the driveway. Okay, then. Postpone that. And review our next or upcoming dates.
January the 8th, I'll be in England.
Oh, no.
I mean, that sounds fun.
I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say. Is Phoebe coming with you?
Till the 23rd.
Okay.
so you're not available for a January meeting.
No. Basically,
Oh, it's really nice.
Where's the dog? Or were you guys with you?
yeah, Cindy,
That's so
Cindy's,
exciting.
Cindy takes her.
That's so great.
He spends some time here and then he goes to her house and she takes him to work with him.
Oh my God.
He
that's
has a pretty good time.
great.
So, I guess rather than trying to change it, we want to have it at the office. Meg's house. My house, you don't want to come to my house in January.
You never know.
Never know, but
We like to do that in July.
it's better than June. June, we
What?
don't let anyone on the phone.
What's the date again? I'm sorry.
January 8th. It's as early as it can be, being on the second Wednesday.
Right.
Want to just do it at the office?
That's fine with me. Snacks aren't as good, but. No wood burning fireplace.
Okay,
We can put one up on the screen.
That is
That's
true.
true.
depending on the night, we might do that. Okay, at office. And then in February, just while we're looking
Yeah.
ahead or whatever, I will not be here on our normal. I'll be in Salt Lake City or on my way home
So we
on
want to
the
move it
12th of February.
up to the 5th or back to the 9th. Ooh, the 19th will be done. That's school vacation that week.
So maybe back to, does the 5th of February work? Jeff, you'll be back or?
I'll be back, yes.
And you can have it without me.
Only question, I'll just need to tweak the RFP because we were gonna have the board review proposals. So I'll move it up. Because we wouldn't have reached the due date yet. And we don't wanna wait till March,
On the 5th.
yeah, but that's fine, I can adjust it by a week.
Let me look. Well, yeah, if you want to keep it on the same date, because I don't come back till Thursday. And I
Yeah,
might get divorced if I just
yeah, I know. you should.
walk back out the door and go to a meeting that night, so.
In jet lag.
If that works,
The 5th works for me.
but I mean, in terms of tightening up the.
RFP.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time in there. I was gonna try to get it done by January and it was just a little too tight,
Okay.
so.
When are we talking now?
February 5th.
Fine with me.
You okay hosting that one?
Peter and Meg, 5th of February work for both of you?
As far as I know now.
That's fine.
I'm not gonna try to do that now.
Which I send these to you.
And then if something comes up and like it's just nobody can get, well, if you do snow date, you meet by Zoom, right? You know,
Well, that was the thing I was gonna ask. Do you know what open meeting law says about moving it entirely remote? If weather is adverse, are we allowed to do that?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll try to find out from Claire. I mean, worst case scenario, I'm across the street from the office. I can go sit in the conference room by myself and say that there's a physical space.
Right. Yep. Yeah, so just, where do we post this? Is it just on the website?
Yeah, we're not compliant with open meeting law because we're supposed to be running a legal notice, but it's $130 a month to do it, so. I don't know.
Can't do it in the Commons or something? Are they?
I don't know if they
Commons
charge.
aren't cheap. Well, the Commons isn't cheap. Cause we put, notices of players in the Commons and it's, am I right? I think it's quite expensive.
Yeah, we pay, I know I paid for an ad once in the Commons.
Huh.
Then the reformers really hits you when it's illegal, because they know you have to do. So they seem to have a different pricing scheme.
So that might be something, I mean, what do other districts do?
I don't think anybody does that, but I can check. The last time we talked about it in the DM meeting, people felt that we were complying with the spirit of it if we put it on our websites, but.
Well, and we have done better, we're doing better with having it most of the time be on the regular night of the month and stuff, which is, I think, helpful too. Okay.
Yep. $147 paid to the Commons for an advert that we received it. So.
Nothing's cheap. The other, or the next item would be an executive session for annual performance review for the executive director. If there's nothing else that anyone has to add before we adjourn to that or go into executive session.
How do we do that?
Do what?
Go into executive session when
I paused the recording.
so
Oh,
anybody's.
Oh.
Yeah, anybody who's online who's not on the board needs to leave, basically.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess we could go into a breakout room probably, right? There's a way to do that.
but then we wouldn't have Megan.
No, we could put them in a breakout. room.
Oh, I
We
see.
could
And we'd
put
be-
staff in another breakout room, but if there's no more stuff on the agenda,
right.
Right.
like I'm not gonna start right now, it's at 8:20.
Wait a minute, you need to ride down to your truck though.
I think I could walk.
Oh,
Sure, it's pretty simple. Do
do
you want me to give you a ride, then they can talk about me?
Oh, is Corey not supposed to be here too?
Depends if you wanna talk about me behind my back.
What's the board's thoughts? We want time without Cory to discuss, and I don't know if anyone actually saw the performance evaluation that I just recently shared.
Do we, also, we need to vote to go to executive session, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
How about we make a motion going into executive session? We'll get that done.
Okay,
Okay.
I would like to wish everybody a wonderful holiday and then
Yes.
go into executive session.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay.
I'll second
Happy
that.
holidays.
Okay.
Bye,
Walk here.
everyone.
See you guys.
What time is it?
8:42. Okay, so we're back in our public session, and I would entertain a motion, to do with, approving or accepting Corey's performance evaluation and approving, his pay increase and stuff according to our personnel policy. That's very roughly put. If anyone
Okay.
has better way to
I would-
word that, please feel free.
I think
Um,
other than taking stuff out, you're good. Uh, I would move that we accept Corey's performance evaluation, and in keeping with his excellent performance, we make the necessary modifications to his pay and benefits.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
all right,
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, and thank you, Corey, for another great year.
Thank you.
Is there anything else for our meeting tonight?
Drive safely.
Yes, no kidding.
Those of you who are
Yeah,
not. in
Jeff
a
said
little
there was no
box-
no fog in the forecast. He forgot to tell the people out there that.
so.
It
That's
was
horrible.
a little weird, because when I left the house, it was 42 degrees. At some point, it dropped down, I think as low as 35 or 34. Then I got to the top of Ogback and it jumped back up to 44 or 45. And
Yep.
I'm like,
It was 14 degrees warmer here than at my condo in Brattleboro,
yeah.
which
So,
that's a temperature conversion, so that's
Yeah,
kind
all
of.
right.
yeah.
That's
Motion
different.
to adjourn, so we can all go forward and enjoy our holidays and the rest of December.
Move to adjourn,
Second.
All those in favor?
all right.
Right.
Any opposed?
And for the drivers among you, please take it slow, take it easy, make it home safe. We'd miss you.
Yeah. Well, I left my house without knowing whether my husband was home yet or not, 'cause he went to pick up our herdsman's daughter from daycare. But take care, thank
Yeah.
you.
Have a